business into New York. So I definitely stretched myself way too thin.
Okay.
And I was really running the business from a place of kind of isolation, anger, and like I was just completely zeroed into the business. I wasn't like helping myself, working on myself in other areas to make me the best CEO and leader that I could be. I was just so focused on like the tasks at hand, which is not a healthy thing. And I learned that the hard way. You need to have some perspective, and you get perspective by filling your life with other things besides just work.
Yeah. Dana here just brought up something. One of the viewers, she said, "I wish my son would get help for gambling, but he's so shut off from those that want to help, and it has to be such a sad place." Two things. Do you remember, she's talking about how sad it must be for her son. Do you remember how sad it was for you? And is there anything what would be the best thing for Dana to do based on your experience dealing with someone struggling with gambling addiction?
Yeah, so I know exactly what she's talking about. I mean, it comes from a place of isolation, because that's what I would do. I would isolate myself from the rest of the world. And even when I did surround myself with people, it was other people who gambled. And
Yeah.
I thought they were my friends until I stopped gambling.
Yeah.
And then I realized they weren't my friends because they were nowhere to be found.
Yeah.
And they're just party people, right? And whether it's gambling or drinking or drugs or whatever it is, they're enablers, right? So they're in the same addiction you are, but maybe you have some perspective on it.
Yeah.
The isolation is really what hurts me the most. I mean, it puts you in just a negative place. And it's very difficult because you don't want to talk to anybody. You don't want to admit you have a problem, and you certainly don't want, your ego is standing in the way of allowing yourself to get any help or opening your mind to other things.
Yeah.
I mean, look, you cannot tell somebody who's an addict to do something.
Yeah.
Like, they're not going to do it. The initial reaction is going to be resistance.
Yeah.
And it's not until they're ready to get help that they will. But you can kind of give them some exposure to other options, right? You can let them know, hey, there are people you can talk to. There's a Gamblers Anonymous program, and they're all over the country. And if there's not a GA program near you, AA or NA, which is Alcoholics and Narcotics Anonymous, they have the same core principles of GA.
Yeah.
But you could definitely go to a program. Now, a lot of people don't want to do that, right? I started a group on Facebook called FATE, F-A-T-E, From Addict to Entrepreneur. It's a series that I'm doing, an interview.
You know what? Talk more about that, because that might be something Dana could look into, whether it's passing it on to her son or just following to get more information. Because, pardon me, one of the biggest things I've learned with a mother or a spouse or somebody, with an addiction is what they think they want to help, and what they think is helping is to try and be there for them, to try and support them. And really it ends up being enabling. And the best way to help them is to let them suffer consequences. Don't rescue them. If their life gets in trouble, don't pick them up from prison. Don't bail them out. Let them figure it out. Because if we keep them from that consequence in that bottom, then we keep them from seeing how painful their life is. So tell us more about FATE. I didn't know about that.
Yeah, well, just to mention, piggyback on what you said, it is important that everybody, hits a certain place where they have self-recognition and they want to get help. But at the same time, it's easy for you and I to say, but when it's your child or something, right?
Yeah.
You don't want to leave them on the street, if something bad happens to them. So I think there's no right or wrong answer, but, I think we have to lead with empathy. That's the biggest thing. Okay. Not, you don't want to enable, but you want to show empathy. So, and it's a challenge to kind of meet in the middle between those things. But like, I don't think picking somebody up after they fall down is an enabling thing. I think it's an empathetic thing. What I do think is enabling is giving somebody money and bailing them out of situations, or feeding their addiction by allowing them to do it more. That obviously is a different thing. As far as fate goes, I've been interviewing and writing about former addicts who are now entrepreneurs. I had my first two pieces came out. One was with Joe Polish of the Genius Network, and then I just came out a couple days ago or last week with Mike Lindell, who is the My Pillow guy.
Yeah.
I don't know if you ever saw My Pillow commercial.
If you turn on the TV, you can't miss it.
Yeah. I mean, he was a former crack and gambling addict. And
really?
He sold 38 million pillows.
Wow.
So, and I've done 10 other interviews, which I'll be writing the articles and dropping them in every week moving forward. But with that, I started a group in Facebook called FATE, F period, A period, T period, E period, and it stands for From Addict to Entrepreneur. And I would definitely encourage her to join it. And we basically talk about different resources. People can talk about their problems there. Some addicts don't want to, be a part of the conversation.
They just want to listen.
Which you can certainly understand. But family members, it's a great place for family members and friends to come, and we're building that network up. So I would definitely encourage her to join it. Just send a request, and it's a closed group, but yeah, I'll definitely obviously let her in, and she could reach out to me directly. I'd be glad to talk to him, because sometimes people are more comfortable talking with somebody who's been in their shoes versus somebody who's trying to tell them something, and they're like, look, you don't understand. You haven't walked in the shadows of my darkness, right? So until you have, don't tell me what I should be doing. And that's an attitude of a lot of addicts.
Well, do you want to share? Why don't we do that? Why don't we share your contact information? Let's maybe in two different ways. So you work stuff. How do you help people in the work arena? So people are aware of that. But then also, this other side to you that likes to help, addicts or people wanting to improve themselves. Why don't we split it into two things? Why don't you give everyone the information so they can get in touch with you?
Okay, so I mean, anybody can find me on Facebook, and in the Facebook group, the Fate group. That's a group that I run. My personal website is michaelg-dash.com, and on there you can actually pre-register for my book that's coming out, which is called Chasing the High, which is appropriately named. And it really talks about entrepreneurship, addiction, overcoming mindset. Finding flow, because that's a big part of my recovery. I call it my post-addiction recovery, which is like my lawsuit recovery, and the negativity I was in from all of that. I was able to find flow, which is really following your highest intuition when making choices, making more choices from your heart than your head, clearing out your limiting beliefs, manifesting your future, things of that nature.
Yeah, we'll get into more of that. We talked a little bit on the phone. I wanted to move into that after we get all the contacts so people understand that better.
Okay, great. So Michael G. Dash is my website, and then you can find me on Facebook, and you can email me. As far as my company goes, Parallel HR Solutions, we're a technology staffing partner, and we basically help identify, screen, and hire software engineers, CTOs, architects, DBAs, sysadmins, anything in the tech and product arena.
Okay.
For both on a contract and full-time basis. And you can contact me there at michael.dash@parallelhr.com. And I'm on LinkedIn and Instagram, and on Instagram I'm M-1, and on LinkedIn I'm just Michael Dash.
Great. All right. Let me, while we're doing that, let me thank our sponsor today, Duke, a fractional CMO. When you're looking to do marketing and you're a small business, you don't have the time or the resources usually or the bandwidth to really need a full-time marketing department. That's when you need an expert in marketing leadership and marketing services to accelerate your growth and improve your profitability. But when you're not quite ready to hire that full-time chief marketing officer or have your own marketing department, Contact Fractional CMO and Marketing for the most efficient, innovative, and cost-effective marketing arrangement. Duke's phone number is 480-540-0225. Again, that's 480-540-0225. It's a great way. Look, when you're an entrepreneur like we are, my skill set is people. I have no clue how to market or anything. And that's one of the biggest mistakes people make. They think they can do that part on their own. Bringing someone like Duke in to help you on that end, an expert in what he does so you can focus in on your expertise in the long run. Whatever it spends to bring somebody else in, you make it back 3, 5, 10-fold because you're actually spending time doing what you do best. So reach out to Duke of Fractional CMO and Marketing, and thanks, Duke, for making the show possible. Michael, let's get into that flow that you talked about, because that I think is you're seeing a whole shift in society finally away from thought and into emotion, because there's a recognition finally that every choice we ever make is based on what we feel, not our thoughts. So in a sense, positive thinking doesn't work. We all have that experience of trying to think positive, but we don't feel it. It's when we feel positive and our thoughts line up, then we have belief in what we're doing. And so it sounds like you found your own derivative of how to create that. Why don't you let our listeners know how you've been able to do that?
Sure. I mean, it's interesting, like you said, well, actually, the way I like to think about it is that most of the time we are the creator of our own problems.
Yes.
Right? They start and end between our right and left ear.
Yeah.
We think, rethink, overthink, rethink the overthink the rethink, right? I mean, it's just like constantly like going back and forth in your head about some of these things. And that's the way I used to make the majority of my decisions. Right? And I would make decisions based on money. That's how I made decisions. It was all based on money. What is the best cost analysis? And what is the best decision after this cost analysis for me?
But what was behind the money? There's something deep, because money isn't it. What was money giving you emotionally that you were trying to get?
Well, it gives you power. It gives you nice things, right? Things that I thought were important. Living in New York City for 10 years.
So status?
Status, yeah. I mean, I used to be a big watch person, right? Like I needed to have a really nice watch and pinstripe suits, which don't fly in Utah, but they did in New York City, right? And so it was all about accumulating the most, whether it was money and then what that money would buy. And then, that's really what it was all about. I ended up in Utah because I made a financial decision to come out here and open the business with my ex-business partner, because she was offering me 50%, when I could have stayed in New York and opened a business with my best friend, grew up at 2 years old, but he was only offering me 30%. Yeah. So I said, well, hey, I got to go where the money is. Yeah. And I went to Utah, and it changed the trajectory of my life. Yeah. So that's how I made all decisions, basically, leading by money. That is not a good way to run your life. Okay. And I remember, because I actually, a couple of years ago, when I learned about flow, I stopped wearing a watch. I took it off and I put it away, because it's a nice watch, right? It's got a cool little band. And when I would meet somebody for the first time, I would get, hey, nice watch, like right out of the gate. Yeah. Like, that's not how I want to be having, that's not the type of conversation I want to be having when I first meet somebody about my watch. It's who cares? Nobody cares, right? Yeah. So you're having this meaningless conversation about your watch, and when you first meet somebody. So I didn't want that anymore. So I put it away. Like, I've worn it once in 2 years, I think, at a wedding. Yeah. So basically, I had taken a trip to Bali. And I was on, this is about 2 years ago, with a group called Unconventional Life. And it was really about, and while I was there, they had a bunch of workshops. It was like a business accelerator type deal. And one of the workshops, there were people talking about flow, and they taught flow mastery and the study of flow and living in flow, which is the belief of having an effortless life. and making decisions from the heart, from that good place, leading from the heart, right?